We moved yesterday. Forgot to tell you. My daughter-in-law said it so casually that, for a second, I thought she was joking. Where did you move? I asked. She laughed. Why would I tell you? You're not part of our lives anymore. I stood there holding the birthday gift I had bought for my grandson. I could have screamed. I could have demanded an explanation. Instead, I smiled. Understood. She had no idea what that one word meant. Because after she hung up, I walked into my study, opened the family trust documents, and stared at 3 names. Her name, my son's name, and mine. I picked up my pen. The phone rang just after 9 on a Saturday morning while I was standing in my kitchen wrapping a birthday gift for my grandson. I had bought him a navy blue bicycle helmet. I tucked a handwritten card inside the box. Nothing extravagant. When I answered, my daughter-in-law, Melissa, didn't say hello. We moved last weekend, she said. I smiled automatically. You moved? Where? There was a pause. Then she said, Forgot to tell you. Our new address is none of your concern. For a moment, I honestly thought I had misunderstood her. Melissa, I'm not asking because I want to show up unannounced. I just want to know where my son and grandson. We need privacy, she interrupted. We're starting fresh. I looked down at the birthday package in my hands. Is Daniel there?
No.
He's at work. And Ethan? He's fine. That was all she gave me. No address. No explanation. No invitation to call. I could have argued. I could have reminded her that Daniel was my only son and that I had always been there for them. Instead, I took a breath. Understood. She seemed almost surprised that I didn't fight back. Good, she said. I think that's best. Then the call ended. I stood there with the phone still against my ear. The kitchen was quiet except for the ticking clock above the doorway. I looked at the wrapped birthday present again. For 12 years, I had been the grandmother who never missed a birthday. I had driven through snow for Ethan's first school play. I had stayed overnight when Melissa had surgery. I had paid for their hotel during a family vacation. When Daniel lost his job, I quietly covered their mortgage payments until he found another one. I never kept score. At least I never thought I did. My husband had passed away 6 years earlier, and after that, Daniel became even more important to me. He was my only child. I wanted his family to feel like home. But over the previous year, something had changed. Melissa stopped returning my calls. Then family dinners became inconvenient. Ethan's soccer games were suddenly last minute, even though I later learned they had known the schedule for weeks. When I asked Daniel if everything was okay, he always gave me the same answer. Mom, Melissa just wants some space. So I gave them space. I stopped dropping by. I stopped asking for every detail. I even started waiting for them to contact me first. Still, I believe there was a difference between needing space and deliberately hiding where you lived. Apparently, Melissa didn't. I placed the birthday gift on the counter and walked into my study. The room had once been my husband's favorite place. After he died, it became mine. Along one wall stood a filing cabinet filled with tax records, property documents, insurance papers, and years of family paperwork. At the bottom was a thick blue folder. I pulled it out. On the front, in my husband's handwriting, were 4 words. Family legacy, keep updated. I had maintained that folder for years. It contained important plans for our family's future. I opened it very slowly again. There were property records, beneficiary instructions, emergency contacts, and documents my attorney had prepared. Then I reached the page I hadn't looked at in months. 3 names were printed there.
Mine.
Daniel's. Melissa's. I stared at their names. For years, I had treated those names as permanent. Family. No matter what happened, I assumed we would eventually find our way back to each other. But Melissa had just told me something very clearly. Their new address was none of my concern. I closed the folder. Then I opened it again. Because suddenly, I wasn't looking at those 3 names as a mother. I was looking at them as the person responsible for deciding what happened next. I picked up my phone. There was one person I needed to call before I changed anything. Someone who had been warning me for years that someday, I might have to make a difficult decision about the future of my family. And for the first time, I was ready to listen. The person I called was David Mercer, my attorney. David had handled my husband's estate after his death and later helped me manage the family trust and property documents. He was practical, patient, and extremely careful. When he answered, I told him about Melissa's call. I expected anger. Instead, he asked one question. Do you still want them included? That question hit harder than Melissa's words. I don't know, I admitted. David didn't push. You've always said the family plan was built around helping the next generation, he said. Not rewarding people simply because they're related to you. I looked at the blue folder on my desk. I know. Then decide what you actually want, he said. Not what you think you should want. I spent the next hour going through the documents. For the first time in years, I saw exactly how much I had quietly arranged for Daniel and his family. There was the lake house. My husband and I had bought it 20 years earlier. After he died, I let Daniel's family use it whenever they wanted. Summer weekends, holidays, even long stays when they needed a break. Then there was the family emergency account. Daniel knew that if something serious happened, I would help. There were also beneficiary instructions connected to the family trust. Daniel's name was there. Melissa's name was there. And Ethan's future had been protected separately. I had done all of this because I believed family meant looking ahead. I had never told Daniel he owed me. I had never reminded him who paid for anything. I simply assumed that someday they would understand what I had tried to build. Then I found something else. A folder of old emails. One message from Melissa stopped me cold. I read it twice. She had written that I was becoming too involved. Another message said they needed to create distance before Mom starts thinking she owns our lives. I kept reading. Melissa had described my holiday invitations as pressure. My birthday calls as interruptions. Even the money I had given them during Daniel's unemployment was described as something that came with unspoken expectations. I felt something inside me go quiet. Not angry, just tired. Then I saw the sentence that changed everything. Once we move, we can finally establish the family boundaries we actually want. I leaned back in my chair. So the move hadn't been spontaneous. They had planned it. And they had apparently believed I would keep every arrangement exactly as it was while they quietly removed me from their lives. I called David again. I want to make changes. This time, he didn't ask why. We went through every document carefully. I removed Daniel and Melissa from the privileges I personally controlled. The lake house would no longer automatically be available to them. The emergency fund would no longer be an open-ended resource for their household. Certain family memberships would be transferred or canceled. The trust arrangements would also be rewritten so Daniel could not simply assume he would control Ethan's portion someday. But there was one thing I refused to do. I would not punish Ethan. He was 12 years old. He hadn't chosen the move. He hadn't made the phone call. His future would remain protected. David looked at me when we finished. Are you sure? Yes. Do you want Daniel to know? Not yet. That afternoon, I signed the first set of documents. I didn't feel victorious. I felt relieved. For the first time, I wasn't trying to convince people to value me. I was accepting what they had told me. Then, 2 days later, Daniel called. Mom, can we talk? His voice sounded nervous. Of course. There's been a problem with the house. I waited. Our closing costs were higher than expected, and Melissa thought maybe you could help us temporarily. I almost laughed, not because his problem was funny, because of the timing. They had moved without telling me. They had declared my involvement unwanted. And now, suddenly, I was needed again. I'm sorry, I said. I can't help with that. There was silence. What do you mean? I mean the arrangement you're thinking about no longer exists. Mom, what arrangement? The one where I was always available whenever you needed something.
His voice changed.
Did Melissa say something to you?
No.
She didn't need to. Then Melissa got on the phone. This is exactly what I was afraid of, she said. You're using money to control us. I closed my eyes. No, Melissa. Then what are you doing? I remembered her words from Saturday. Our new address is none of your concern. So I gave her the same calm answer. I'm respecting the boundary you asked for. She went silent. Then, quietly, she asked, What did you do? I didn't answer, because David had already sent the revised documents. and there was something inside that folder they had completely forgotten about. The next morning, David called me before I had finished my coffee. "You need to come in," he said. "There's something in the original trust documents you should see." I drove to his office, with the blue folder beside me. David was waiting with an old envelope. "This was attached to the original trust agreement," he said. "Your husband added it 20 years ago." I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter from my husband. He had written that our family assets were never meant to become rewards for being related. They were meant to protect the people in our family who needed a safe foundation. Then I reached the final paragraph. Ethan's future was protected independently. Daniel and Melissa could never control that portion simply because they were his parents. "So they can't take it away from him?" "No," David said. "I won't change it." He nodded. Then he pointed to another section. "The document gave me control over the family property and benefits during my lifetime. Daniel had assumed he would eventually control things that were never his. I had allowed that assumption for years because I never imagined correcting it. Now I did. I signed the remaining documents. Daniel and Melissa would no longer have automatic access to the lake house. Their family memberships were removed, and the emergency account was closed to them. And the trust was rewritten so Ethan's future remained protected without giving his parents control over it. I didn't tell Daniel. I let the paperwork speak for itself. 3 days later, Daniel showed up at my house. He looked exhausted. "Mom, what is going on?" David called me. He said some arrangements changed. They did. "Why?" "Because you moved without telling me."
His face tightened.
"Mom, that wasn't my decision." "Then whose was it?" He didn't answer. I understood. "I should have told you," he finally said. "Yes. I thought Melissa would handle it. And you agreed with her." He looked down. "I didn't think it would matter this much." Those words hurt. "You thought I would always be here," I said. He didn't deny it. Then Melissa walked up the driveway. "You're punishing us," she said.
"No."
"You removed our names from everything. From things I was providing. You're using money to get revenge." I shook my head. "You told me your new address was none of my concern. That doesn't mean you get to destroy our future." "I didn't destroy anything." I held her gaze. "I stopped guaranteeing things you had decided you didn't need." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Daniel looked at her. I saw uncertainty on his face. "Mom," he said quietly, "can we fix this?" I wanted to say yes. The old version of me would have. Instead, I asked him a question. "Do you know why I kept showing up?" He looked puzzled. "Because you're my mom?" "Because you're my son," I said. I thought family meant staying connected when life got difficult. I looked at Melissa. I never needed control. I needed respect. Melissa crossed her arms. We needed boundaries. And I respected them. She frowned. "This isn't what we meant." "No," I said. "It wasn't." Daniel rubbed his forehead. "I should have called you." "Yes." "I should have told you we were moving." "Yes." "And I shouldn't have let Melissa speak for both of us." The porch went quiet. For once, Daniel didn't let her interrupt. "I was afraid you'd be upset," he said. "I was," I replied. "But I would have understood. I couldn't understand being treated like a stranger after 20 years of being there for you." His eyes became wet. "I'm sorry, Mom." I believed he was genuinely sorry. But sorry didn't restore everything. "I forgive you," I said. "But forgiveness doesn't mean the old arrangements come back." He nodded slowly. "And Ethan?" "Ethan is still protected." Daniel looked relieved. "Why?" "Because he didn't make your choices." For the first time, Melissa looked ashamed. She had expected me to take everything away. Instead, I protected her son's future. At the gate, Daniel stopped. "Can I call you next week?" "Yes." Not because everything was completely fixed, because maybe we were finally starting with the truth. Months later, I opened the blue folder again. Daniel's name was gone from the privileges he had assumed were permanent. Melissa's was gone too. But Ethan's name remained exactly where it belonged. I quietly closed the folder. For years, I thought those names were what made us family. I understood the truth. A name on a document doesn't make someone family. How they treat you does. And when someone tells you that your place in their life is none of their concern, sometimes the strongest answer isn't anger. It's simply understood.